sitting inside the country. So we need to also concentrate on the technology which will protect such data.
And what we as an industry are not immune either. We all know of a real example close to one of us where that happened as well. That was, yes, please.
I think this will partially answer your previous question as well. So the reason why telcos have not done it to a good extent is, first of all, it's highly regulated industry. Whichever country you look at, the telcos always have very strict regulations. Second reason is, I think a lot of things have changed with OTT platforms gaining popularity and the customer experience they have been able to achieve, right? Now, if I look at it today, I see it's a balance between enhanced customer experience versus enhanced security, right? Adding to his point. So even if
you don't want to implement that friction.
Exactly. So it's like
flow.
On one hand you have to continue enhancing customer experience, but on the other side you don't want to compromise security.
It's a real tricky balance. It goes back to what was being talked about previous panel, this whole false positive thing. It's a real balance. How do you negotiate that? I don't know. Morty, what's your take on what's going on in India today in terms of mobile identity? We've got operators here clearly starting to embrace that and understand the opportunity. And do you think that potentially this gold mine of data that operators have could be bigger than business messaging in the next few years?
Yes. For companies like TechLab, it is going to be a gold mine as well. The reason is the operators have data, will have data, but if you historically look at it, the solutions are brought by value-added service companies or technology companies. For whatever the reasons, most of the operators, they're busy in doing what they were doing all these years.
It's because it's not their core business.
Yeah. But, unfortunately, they're not doing much, but it's a companies like ours is going to take the benefit of it, help operators, help consumers, help enterprises. If you look at Facebook, fantastically capitalized the data. Of course, within the boundary of the regulations, data protection and things like that. Here it will be even more stringent data protection in case of telcos, assuming that that framework exists. Today, most of the applications are mobile identity is kind of a used for the authentication. Very less actually truly using the mobile identity. Now the real scenarios are going to come in future based on the new application that's going to come. Today, the mobile it's an extension of your organ. It's as good as your organ. It's the extension of your body. And we assume that authentication is provided by the same person, meaning is the same identity. Tomorrow it is not going to be the same. The moment you bring in one person, multiple SIMs, one person, multiple equipments. Example, take a case of IoT. Or imagine a scenario where today when an OTP comes, it assumes, application assumes that you're authorizing and you are the same identity. But tomorrow it may not be the case. Like example, I have a car, but my driver is riding it. But the vehicle is mine. Is the identity and the authorization is going to be done by the same? No, authorization there is going to be done by the driver, but identity is me who is sitting somewhere else, right? So today, the authorization and identity is taken as a single right now because of the complexity or less. But if I have to move forward, myself for 5 years, complexities of applications is going to be unbelievably complex. And then that is when the real usage of this identity comes into the picture, beyond authorization.
It's a very good point, because you've got the issue at the moment where if I travel abroad and I'm here in India, I can have an HR lookup done on me to see, yes, depending on the regulations, it could be returned, yes, James is roaming or James is in India. No problem. But what happens if I leave my phone at home, or you have situations in the IoT world when you have fixed roaming scenarios as well. So that was really interesting at the start of that. That can create real issues and can be very, very challenging.
It's a challenging. That's where, like, technology houses has to come up with a solution, which eventually we would. Like, one of the, at least I have seen, one of the companies best utilize the identity is Google. Today, if I had to access some application of theirs in some other platform, it reaches out to your mobile where you acknowledge. It means authentication and identification solved. But that can be done by mobile operators as well. Most of the mobile operators also have their own app inside the mobile, more or less, right? Now, how can we take the benefit of that? I'm not going to explain how I'm going to do it because Tech Lab is going to do that. That's an IP. Right? So, but yes, there is a provision. There is a role that can be played by the mobile operators as well.
Absolutely.
They need to be prepared because otherwise things are going to be very complicated. And obviously, if you don't do it, the fraudulent people are going to take the advantage.
Eshan, what are you doing within Tata Communications to make sure mobile operators are prepared, to make sure people understand what the opportunity is? To explain what you're doing.
Correct. So James, we do have, we are building on a tool which will help the enterprises have a judicious data which will enable them to reach to the brands better. What is happening right now is that, unfortunately or fortunately, in the Indian market, to gain the trust from the customers is getting a little challenging part because of a lot many financial breaches which are happening, because of a lot of fraudulent activities which are happening. A single incidence can take you back 10 steps. So that is something which Tata Communication is working towards, but I would like to also add upon that within Indian setup, the psychological trust is one wherein India is facing a lot of challenge. Say, for example, if I talk about your country, one fraudulent SMS, and the company is going to be sued whatsoever. But then over here, the things are taking a bit longer time, because of which the perception or the experience which the customer, the end subscriber is having, is becoming a little, is becoming a roadblock. So be it psychological trust, be it demographic trust. Half of the people are educated, but half of the people are not educated. So that is again, bridging the gap longer. There can be age factors as well. My father today, he still has challenges using money because of the 1 or 2 incidences he might have heard. So this is where Tata Communication is trying to build its tool, wherein we can be of more help to the enterprises and the customers.
Okay, thank you. And so, Ritesh, education is really, really important. And this whole topic of mobile identity rolls in authentication, it rolls in security, it rolls in trust for consumers and everything like that. What do you think all of you in India can do to restore or establish or teach this trust, that actually you can trust this application or you can trust this company? How do you go about doing that? What are you doing here in India to do that?
Basically, because I'm working for JT, so I can tell you what JT is doing for UK and Jersey customers.
But there we go, perfect.
Yeah,
You're an international flavor.
Yeah, you know that. Now these days we are very strict in terms of sending the SMS to the customers. So first we do the SID whitelist. We see the content, what type of content is going through us to the customers. So now these days, we are not directly allow the enterprises customers or the wholesale traffic terminate to the customers. We have a, you can say that, we have a thresholds already, what we have already set up, so that whatever the traffic they are sending us, we try to first check it that whether it is what it's supposed to be, we should send to the customers, or we should block it before it go and try to hit the customers. So that is what we are doing there. In India also, I think all the operators are doing it. And the priority is, in India it is tough, because in India you are getting 20, 30 SMS every day. So somehow the rules and regulations are not as good as in UK or in Jersey. And that is why, the fraud activities are more in India compared to
And do you know what? That's a very good point you raise about how many messages the average Indian citizen receives, because I've kept talking about for years how nice it would be if more businesses started to use messaging. And people said, but James, that's happening in India. And I know that MEF members have been telling me that lots of people feel spammed by WhatsApp. And it's not spam by WhatsApp. It's legitimate businesses that they've signed up to receive content from. But they're just so many businesses are engaging with them, or might be sending a message a day. It all heaps up, and it appears very, very spammy, and it loses people's trust. So this volume and how we go about establishing their identity, whether it's through a one-time password via SMS or A2P flash, or is it passkey, APIs and things like that, is really, really important. And the least friction possible for your customers at the end of the day surely has to be a benefit. So could just come back to, sorry, yeah, go ahead.